Wayne Newton, welcome to Behind the Tab.
It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this since we first started talking. So yeah,
Amazing.
let's talk a little GoTab and GoZone.
Yeah. So can you kind of give our listeners some background on GoZone? And is it GoZone Wi-Fi or GoZone?
Well, I just say GoZone. The name of the company is technically GoZone Wi-Fi. Um, we have kind of gotten through the confusion phase a little bit with our company, where people early on thought that we actually, provided Wi-Fi networks, like the physical equipment and all that. We work alongside it, and we help enable, additional things to be done with Wi-Fi networks, but we don't actually make the equipment. We work with companies that do. And the background on the company itself is that we were founded in 2014, so we're 12 years old, which is an eternity in
Mm-hmm.
the software as a service space. A lot of things have changed since 2014. Our founder, Todd Myers, actually had started another company previous to this one, AirPath Wireless, that most people don't know the company, but they definitely know what it did because he was the very first person in the very first company to put public Wi-Fi in an airport, which now is
Wow.
ubiquitous. So AirPath
Wow.
Wireless' claim to fame was the very first public Wi-Fi, passenger Wi-Fi in an airport in the United States. And from that company, AirPath, to GoZone was basically, building off of that foundation and then kind of turning the business more towards how can we help the venue, get things out of providing guest Wi-Fi to their guests.
Yeah, that's a huge transformation. So which airport was it?
Toledo,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
where he's from originally.
Yeah. Now, when you look at your customer base, can you describe like who you work with? Because,
Oh man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure it
it's
runs the
uh
gamut,
with
but I'd love to
with
know.
the tool set that we have, there virtually isn't a public venue that can't use at least something that we do. And so our clientele list is pretty broad in terms of industries served. We do a ton of work with, the food and beverage retail, the restaurant space and breweries and bars and that kind of stuff. Large public venues, we do a lot with stadiums and arenas. That we had a webinar just last week, just kind of focusing in on that one. But convention centers, campgrounds, entertainment venues like bowling and, the kind of general purpose entertainment, casinos. Uh, we have a big business in casinos. So that it's pretty much any public space where the combination of, the customers come to consume that facility's product on premise, and the fact that they would be there long enough that they'd want to get connected. So if you have those two things going on, chances are pretty good that, we can help the venue out with something.
Nice, nice. So then if you can think of a moment, the moment in time when you guys realize we're not a hardware solution. We're software that helps operators run their networks and get value from their networks. What generated that idea?
Well, so a couple of things kind of work in our favor that we can't really take credit for, but we take advantage of. One is that Wi-Fi became ubiquitous. So virtually, everywhere, all the time, always available. It became much more reliable, right? Internet speeds also increased. If you think about like 2014 to today, I mean, a lot of things have happened. I think the
Yeah.
iPhone was, mobile devices just, kind of coming into their own. So that's another big one, is that everyone carries a screen with them everywhere and it's connected. But the biggest thing that kind of led from or transformed us from sort of that AirPath world to the GoZone world was the fact that software as a service also emerged, cloud-based computing, not to get too technical, but there's a lot of building blocks around our ability to offer economical services that work with, kind of no matter what,
Yeah.
and that actually work well enough that a business will get an ROI out of it. Because the inspiration for GoZone, from AirPath to GoZone, was actually, and it's a classic, kind of founder story, is Todd was on vacation in Mexico and he got frustrated with the lack of connectivity as he was hopping around from bar to bar or restaurant, cafe, or whatever. And he kept asking managers and owners of these little, joints that he was in, why don't you have Wi-Fi? And he's a Wi-Fi guy, right, from the very beginning of Wi-Fi. I think he might have been, one of the people that helped like name it Wi-Fi or something. But anyway, uh, his answer that he kept getting consistently was cost. Like it's too expensive. Like I can't afford to offer this, when I'm trying to make money doing my main thing.
Yeah.
And so he started thinking about it. And he's like, well, what if it wasn't a cost? What if it was an investment that gave you more money out of it than you put into it? Like he kind of turned it over on its side and was like, I can turn this into something that they will gladly pay for because they will make money doing it.
Yeah.
And that, from there, GoZone turned into, what GoZone is today, fast forward, 12 years later.
Yeah, that's interesting because they all know at this point they have to have it. So if they're not monetizing it, what are they doing?
Well, and the key there is that, and I hope this is what we, stay true to with everything that we do, but we're not looking to, interrupt someone's good time or bombard them with propaganda or just, be annoying or irritating. What we're trying to do is add value. And if you think about the equation between a customer walking into a venue to consume whatever it is they do, food, a concert, a sporting event, whatever. Um, if you keep the equation balanced, where they're getting something out of it and you're getting something out of it, and the two are always either equal or leaning a little bit more towards the guest's favor, then you've got something. And so we try to give the venue operator a variety of tools and also best practices, advice, consultation to help make sure that they're putting things that are valuable to the guest in front of the guest. Now, luckily, our clients have no shortage of that.
Hmm.
We work with a lot of different venue types, like I mentioned earlier, and they all have, I mean, we're in the business as they are of showing people a good time, right? If you think about all the places I mentioned, even going out to eat or having a drink or whatever, people are spending their time and their money disposably on things that they're doing to, enjoy themselves. So if you can somehow attach yourself to that and make that experience just a little bit better, and then, oh, by the way, the venue gets something out of it, which is, a repeat visit. Bring somebody else in next time, buy another ticket, spend a little bit more here, whatever. All those things are a product and an outcome of the guest having a good time,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. All right, so let's talk about stadiums. I'm going to confess something. My husband is an incredible soccer fan. I've been married a very long
Oh,
time.
wow.
It's at this point in World Cup season that he becomes almost zombie-like and I can't get
Well,
his
there's a game
attention.
coming up in another hour or two,
Oh
so
my goodness. And he's got probably a reason to be home right now.
mhm.
But imagine he's in a stadium and I can only imagine, the effort of creating the right kind of Wi-Fi experience in a stadium. But talk to me about that.
Sure. Well, we had a really interesting panel on a webinar I did with, in one of the larger organizations that support Wi-Fi, from a technology standpoint. So like everything, there's a whole bunch of these, crazy smart people that are cooking up all these ways to make all this stuff seem easy to all of us lay people. But one of the things one of the guys from Cisco had said in the webinar last week was how much Wi-Fi really wasn't designed to work in a space like a stadium. Like
Mhm.
it was never intended to be what we know now and what we expect it to be. And so it's been an amazing evolution just in the fact that it works. Because again, without getting into too much technical stuff, but there's just about everything that is an obstruction for a Wi-Fi signal to work well, ourselves included. Like the more people you put in a place, the more glass, the more concrete, the more steel, the more water, the more just about everything except air is actually something that degrades the ability for a signal to get transmitted, received, transmitted back because the things are working both directions, right? And so think about a stadium and all the problems that brings up. So yeah, it's come a long way. The industry has really devoted itself to coming up with ways to just make it work. And now we have the luxury of going in and enjoying all that, where you pretty much get a great signal no matter what. Um, Now the interesting thing is, just like with Wi-Fi, cellular service also struggles to work well in those bigger venues. And when you start to have a ton of people coming in at the same time, all wanting to get connected at the same time, you have a real problem. It's like traffic jam on a freeway,
Hmm.
and or but worse. And so stadiums have figured out that the best way to solve that is by investing in upgraded Wi-Fi networks, making them work everywhere no matter what. And with that has come this enormous sort of evolution around, well, now that we've got that, now we can start using it to our advantage. And it's our services, which, we'll spend the bulk of the time today talking about, but it's also the handheld, things that staff members are walking around with. It's concessions and point of sale and digital displays, and just almost everything is network oriented now coming in. Ticketing, right? Scanning your ticket to come in. It's on your phone, and all this stuff that we've, maybe gladly or not so gladly started to accept, right? The stadiums are so connected, the guests or the fans inside the stadiums are connected, and they want to be. And with that comes a lot of potential and opportunity to, exploit it in a positive way. And I'll jump to a little bit of, something I was going to mention towards the end, but if a venue, regardless of whether it's a stadium or otherwise, focuses on the fan experience or the guest or customer experience first, and this isn't anything new for marketers or, business owners or general managers. I mean, I think we've all figured out, like, if you make it a really good time while they're there, chances are pretty good they're going to be loyal, right? And technology like Wi-Fi is an enabler to that. It helps the venue set themselves up to provide the best possible experience for a guest while they're there. And that's ultimately the
So
game.
if you may have real life examples, but if you had to give me an idea of what the ideal experience might be, pairing together, I'm in a stadium. Obviously, I'm expecting the Wi-Fi to work, and if it doesn't, I'm going to be really pissed off. But if it does, I'm not even paying any attention. How can we use a tool like, or how do operators use a tool like GoZone Wi-Fi to enhance the experience?
Well, first off, I'll preface this by saying, the network, and we're, as consumers, we're all sort of conditioned to just, think that we should be able to get everything that we want, you know, no matter
Why
what.
not?
But the fact is that, whether it's a restaurant or a massive stadium, I mean, there's been a pretty sizable investment put into a lot of the things that aren't the food that you eat or the thing that you drink or the thing that you watch. It's all about, creating this space for you to come and enjoy it. And those have real costs, and those costs have to be recouped, right? So Wi-Fi is no exception, and it's also additionally a challenge in that it's the business's network. That network is also tied back to business operations functions and, things that are securely away from where the fan is, but you're still getting people onto a network that is yours, not theirs. And that comes with some obligations and responsibilities for you as the venue operator, but also for the guests. Like, they can't just do whatever they want on that
Mm,
network. At least they
mm,
shouldn't. And so
hmm.
a lot of times the first thing we help venues with is obviously let people on, and there's a good way to do it, which GoZone offers, secure. Every device is isolated so people can't like creep on each other or snoop or hack or whatever. But you also are getting guests to say, yeah, I understand I'm on your network and I agree to your privacy policy or your security policy or, the things that you say I can and can't do. Like, I am saying yes to that. So if something bad happens, you've got recourse, right? That's
Okay, got
fundamental.
it.
And it has nothing to do with the time they're having there or making money or anything, but that is table stakes as far as you're using a public network, it's ours. We're allowing you to have fun. Just don't go places you shouldn't. Don't say things you shouldn't, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
And
help
your
them
and
kind of
your
check that
product
box.
supports that?
Pardon me?
Your product supports that
Oh,
those
yeah.
controls? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Along
Okay.
with a ton of other, consumer privacy, policies and regulations globally that, are the venue's obligation if they're going to ask someone, Patricia, what's your name? What's your email address? Can I contact you? All of the keys to that we provide to the venue so that they can treat the customer and the customer's information right. There's an equal obligation responsibility not to sell that information, use it in a way that the customer said did not, give you permission to, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot more to it than, kind of meets the eye, but all of that is part of, our job as the subject matter expert and the provider of the service to help customers understand what their obligations are, give them tools to make it easy for them to do, and then, give the fans and the guests what they want while
Yeah.
also holding them accountable for, bad acting.
And so I'm assuming now what countries do you operate in? Are you in just the US or
Everywhere. Yeah, we're
everywhere?
we're we're global. I I don't know. I'm sure there's countries we don't have business in yet, but in terms of we're on every continent. We're in
I
every
see.
major market,
So
and
you're
our
helping
business
these
is
local
growing globally.
businesses even operate within the constraints of their local jurisdiction and rules.
Yep, you gotta be up on all that stuff. You have to, we've got a couple tigers by the tail. We've got to keep up on all those regulations and local and regional policies and laws in some cases even.
Yeah.
We also have to keep up with, and I'm sure you know the good and the bad of this, but technology doesn't stand still for very long. And
Yeah.
so there's always changes going on between, Wi-Fi this and, Apple and Google that. And, so it's a lot to be able to tell clients, we got this covered.
Mhm.
You focus on running your business, doing a great job with that, and we'll take care of the rest.
How do I interface with your software? Assuming I'm going to a stadium and do I ever interface at all with your software as a
The bet,
consumer?
Yeah, as a consumer, what you'll see is, and you asked a little bit about like how can you make it best for the fan or the guest. Um, QR codes, don't make them search for a network. Just scan a QR code and it just pops
Okay.
up and away you go. So that there's some things like that that we've incorporated with some of that technology evolution. But you will interface with our software because you will see a screen pop up on your or a page pop up on your screen and try to connect to the network, like you do at a hotel or when you get on an airplane, if you get on their Wi-Fi. It's called a captive portal splash page, and it's the interrupt between the guest trying to connect to a network that isn't their home network and then getting on. So that's the temporary, hey, welcome, opportunity for the venue to say, hey, I'm glad you're here. Help yourself to our Wi-Fi. But before you go, can I ask you a little bit about yourself? If they want to. What's your name?
Yeah.
What's your email address? Can I interact with you? Can I engage with you? And that's how we help venues build contact lists or, move people into loyalty programs or the variety of things that we help them do. Like the GoTab thing is an example. We are talking with the GoTab system, and when somebody does something on GoTab, if it involves, their contact information and they're wanting to opt into marketing, that if it's set up and activated with GoZone, that will automatically create a record, a guest profile, which then, like, the venue can start engaging with the guest. Only
Nice.
because the
Now,
guest said yes, right? Like the customer still has the power, but if you do it right, they want to interact with you. They want engagement. They want to be told about things and, shown a better time and helped out even while they're there.
yeah. And I, as an operator, I can customize that experience. So it looks like me, it doesn't look like you.
Oh, yeah, we are just the tool. The What the guest sees is, if they're doing it right, and we very much, advise on this is whatever your best presentation to a customer is, your website, your social media platforms, digital or signage in your premise, the sign on your door, whatever, make your guest Wi-Fi splash page look that good as well. It needs to be an extension of your brand. It needs to be consistent with everything else that you're doing. And we provide a lot of customization tools to allow you to do that. We also have excellent creative services people that make sure that it's looking great as well as functioning properly too.
Nice. So assume, and I don't want to make any assumptions about the type of client that you're trying to support, but do you think about them in terms of size of operation, scope of operation?
Oh yeah, a lot of the work that we do early in our process with a prospective client is, we call discovery, and it's just help, you can look up who they are and what they do, and you can get a pretty good sense of, what they're doing out there from a marketing standpoint, an advertising standpoint. Plus, we work with a lot of different clients, and so we kind of know already the things that are going to mean the most to them based on the industry that they're in. But every interaction with a client is unique in at least some regard. And most of it is just around trying to understand what it is that is most important to them. Where do they need the most help? And then helping them actually learn that, hey, here's all these great ways to do this stuff. And primarily, it's not most of what clients use our service for isn't creating like brand new content necessarily. It's more around using our service as one of the best ways to deliver the message that you already created. So if you're doing something on Instagram or you have this thing on this website or you have email marketing or even, traditional marketing, leverage that investment you've already made and put it in front of people right as they're walking through your front door. They're
Hmm.
most receptive to seeing things then. They've
Yeah,
already told you, hey, I want to be connected. I'm already here. What is it that you want to say?
yeah,
What would you like them to know a little bit more about right now in the few minutes that you've got their attention? And in large part, people respond well to that. And they'll
yeah,
also generally agree to continued engagement. Yes,
yeah.
contact me in the future. And
So
that's the
I
name of the
love that
game for our
idea.
business.
I know a lot of times people marketers think in different channels, and they don't necessarily think about using insights from one channel into another. So what you're describing is really smart.
And we've come a long way in the years we've been around, but everything needs to interact with and incrementally cooperate and contribute with each other. Like the perfect scenario is that you've got this thing happening and that thing happening and so on, but there's some harmony there and there's consistency, right? So it's omni-channel marketing at its, like definition. So it shouldn't matter how people, see something that almost becomes irrelevant.
Yeah,
And that's the trick with for marketers is figure out the tools and then help them work together to get more out of it. It's the 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing.
yeah,
We're big purveyors of that. We actively seek out. I mean, the reason we have a GoTab integration is because we believe in our role of helping tie more things together for
yeah.
marketers, right?
So it's interesting because I've always I've always thought about Wi-Fi as a way for a consumer to communicate outward, but really what you're doing is turning it into a communication channel for the brand that sits
Yep,
alongside all of their other
yep.
communications channels. So that's really smart. So I guess if we wanted to go back into this stadium, and I really want to help our listeners differentiate, like what are some great ideas and best experiences, say from a stadium perspective, all the way to this, we work with a lot of breweries or wineries or bars. Like, give us some examples.
Yeah, so with the bigger venues like stadiums especially, and all you got to do is just I'm a real practical thinker. All you got to do is just drive around and look at, you know, a building like that you might have in your city or the next time you go. What do you see? Well, you see some other company's name on the front of the building, almost
Mm,
always now. It isn't like it's not named after a person anymore. There's sponsorships. There's somebody who has naming rights to that building. And they paid usually multiple millions of dollars over a number of years just to put their name in that building. Because every single time somebody drives by, every single time that building is mentioned, every single time a video or a photo is shown on TV or in print or whatever, their name is there. So there's a whole business around that, right? And below that, there's a whole bunch of other sponsorship opportunities. Just go to a venue. They're all over the place. They're already happening. Has nothing to do with GoZone. So when it comes to stadiums, one of the biggest things that we help those venues do is improve and optimize and incrementally contribute to that sponsorship activation. There are things that each one of those sponsors expects to get out of that financial commitment. And if you go into an arena or stadium like that with, your eyes and ears kind of focused on what is going on here with all this sponsorship stuff, you will, it will become crystal clear that there's a lot going on. And the great, stadiums and sports leagues and sponsorship marketing departments, the ones that are doing it the best are active. Look at a baseball game as an example. I mean, there is something different going on every single day. It's the t-shirt hat thing. It's the free ice cream for the kids. It's the, local this or that. Like they know the game and they're constantly making it fresh. And it's like, oh, by the way, there's a baseball game going on here too, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a social event. It happens to have a game in the middle of it, right? I mean, the Savannah Bananas, minor league baseball, minor league hockey, right? Like some of the best entertainment, industries are
Mhm.
these not major league sports, but the ones just below that where you go for the fun of it, right? And
Yeah.
sponsors
Yeah.
get into that stuff and they get active, right? So we have one of the best ways to kickstart or boost sponsor activation because like we talked about earlier, you've got all these ingredients in place, perfect recipe. The fan is there. They want to get connected. They got their mobile device in hand. They're ready to have fun. How about you just put the right thing right in front of them, right in front of their face at the perfect time? Sponsors love that stuff. Now, the other thing is, so it does drive incremental behavior. You want
Hmm.
somebody to show up at Concourse G to see the Harley Davidson e-bike? Tell them about it right when they're walking in the
Hmm.
building, right? And you will get more people to go. It might have been somebody that didn't know. It might have been somebody that forgot. It might have been somebody that got distracted. If you could pick out 10, 15, 20% of the people that otherwise wouldn't do this thing, you got yourself a winner. And that's what happens all the time. You just
All right,
remind
so
people.
these are great ideas, and I should be more creative. I had never even considered all the different permutations of what you would actually be able to support and help an operator monetize and promote. So let's talk about the back end of it though. All
Sure.
right, so I'm as a marketer, assume I work with a brand that is utilizing GoZone Wi-Fi. How am I getting my information out of your system into the system that I use to communicate?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a variety of ways. First of all, we have multiple integrations with outside services like GoTab, but also CRMs, campaign management tools like the MailChimps and Constant Contacts of the world. And so we will feed the information that we collect, and it can be primary information like Patricia just gave me her email address and her first name and her date of birth, and also the fact that she wouldn't mind getting communicated with. That guest profile can get automatically streamed to the marketer's, campaign management or CRM system of choice. Right. So there's integrations like that that are built to help enable that kind of thing. We also have data in our system. So as a client, you have access to your own dashboard. You can go in and view things. You can query information. You can see things, analytics, insights wise. And that data is always retained as well as set up to serve you in other, services like I just described. So it's always there. And it isn't just for the primary contact information, it's visit information, right? It's responses to campaigns. Did they open something up? Did they look at something? Did they click through to things? There's data behind all this. And the data is the currency.
Yeah,
It really is, right? So most places don't charge for Wi-Fi anymore. It's just provided.
yeah, I don't
But
think I've paid
but
for
the
it ever.
amount of value that's still there is the data. And that's
Yeah.
what marketers are most interested in. Can you get me another contact that wants to communicate with me, wants to engage with me? And then can you help me understand, like, is what I did to them the first time, did it work? Can you help me build more of an understanding of what their preferences are, what their interests are, right? It isn't just a name and an email address, right? It's if this service, along with the other things that I'm using, can help me understand Patricia better, then I can tailor my messages to her and she will find them more valuable and she will react in even a better way. And it just is this thing that just continues to happen, in a more and more positive way, again, on both sides of the equation. That's
Yeah.
ultimately what we're trying to do is just help marketers reach people and make more informed decisions so we always have that value equation proper.
No, this is amazing. So I always think about, that 360-degree view. We always talk about marketing, that 360. There's this whole tranche of information about things that are happening in on premise that you don't have access to. And so you're able to kind of expose that, and through integrations with point of sales and as well as marketing tools, you're giving the marketer that information. So they may have ordering information, payment information that opted in, obviously, that they
Yep.
can use to kind of create that persona.
Yeah, and it's the behaviors, it's the responses to things, the yes, no, the open, the click, those are the things that are the most valuable is they're informing you on, are you hitting home? Is your message hitting home? Is it relevant? Is it valuable to that person? Not,
Yeah.
just like throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, but, aim in a targeted way increasingly because you know enough to do it and do it well, right?
Well,
One
then,
thing that I was going to mention that you prompted me to think about a bit ago is that we talk about Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is the enabler for our service along with a lot of things, right? But also email and text messaging is too. And email and text messaging isn't dependent on a Wi-Fi network, it's just dependent on a connection. So the one thing that we're able to help venues do beyond just this screen that someone will see temporarily, which is that splash page we talked about earlier, is utilize email and SMS as a fan or a guest engagement tool as well. So they may have a service that they're using for email, may even be into text message marketing now, which a lot of companies are doing, and as a consumer, we're becoming more comfortable with in
mhm.
certain situations. Um, but the service that we provide using email and SMS isn't meant to compete with something that the marketing team already has in place. It's meant, just like everything else that we do, to enhance it because we have the ability to offer a venue a way to have a message like an email or a text message go out triggered by the Wi-Fi activity. So it's not out on a schedule. It's not like send this thing out on Fridays to this list. It's, oh, Patricia just registered. How about we send her a thank you and some kind of information? And it pops up on her screen and she sees it and she clicks on it. That's how you drive click-throughs, is that you bring it to them at the most perfect time, which
Yeah.
is they just said yes. Well, how about you start right now, right? Like send them
Yeah.
something that matters.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. It might put you on the spot. So one of my favorite places, IKEA, I have an obsession with them. But one of the things that I have their app on my phone, and I've been to
Mhm.
many IKEAs, and it always knows what, because I have the app, right?
Yep.
So are you saying that if I were using a system like yours, I could help actually trigger emails or texts around if I check in at a venue, say I use Wi-Fi. Well, your
That's
system can
that's exactly
automatically.
right.
That's
And
brilliant.
I mentioned when we first started talking, you asked about the name of our company and some of the confusion around Wi-Fi. We also sometimes get confused with mobile apps. And people will either think that we are a mobile app developer, which we're not, or they think, well, I have a mobile app, so I don't need GoZone or vice versa. And that's not true either. In fact, if a venue has a mobile app, whether it's a loyalty app or like IKEA's app or whatever, those are some of the best clients for us of all because they're already invested in providing some kind of experience on a customer's mobile device, right? But they also need a connection in order for that device to deliver the most value over that app. Like
Hmm.
if you're offline, there's at least some things that aren't going to work. right?
Right.
So
Right.
we help enable the full and most valuable use of mobile apps because we help people get onto a Wi-Fi network and ensure that that connection is good so they
Yeah.
can get the value out of the app, right? So
Yeah.
we're an enabler to that main
No,
thing.
I think that's a great call out. And I think they've resolved the issue because, I go to IKEA maybe once a month.
Yeah,
But I recall several years ago, you would like if I were in the store, I couldn't get the app to load because I was not on their Wi-Fi. I
that's
had to
right.
get on their Wi-Fi
And
to
your
get the app to
cellular
work.
service won't work in that big, huge building. So
Yes.
so you need to have the Wi-Fi. The other thing, and this is something that, I think if you look back at, the 12 years we've been around, and I've been here for 9, there are businesses that we're in that I wouldn't have thought when I started working here that we would even have a reason to
Like
participate
what,
in, but
for
you keep
example,
finding new things that make sense and drive value. And as an example, we've got a an advertising platform that can be utilized in conjunction with this marketing captive portal thing. And basically, what it allows you to do is put, scheduled and rotatable advertising content right on the page when somebody logs in. And it doesn't have to be some TV commercial or video or anything like that. It could literally just be like a concessions offer or a merch offer or an upgraded seating or a premium lounge thing. Like those things are things that stadiums do all the time, right? You're here, you want to make the most of your experience. How about you do this? We got some seats left, or if you want to bump up to this or whatever. That kind of stuff goes on all the time, and it's a great way to deliver that messaging. But another great thing to do right then and there is if they've already invested in a mobile app, right? We talked about naming rights being millions of dollars. When somebody invests in a mobile app, that's a significant technology investment, right? They want everybody to use it. They want you using it every time you go into IKEA, right? It's probably why they improved their Wi-Fi network. But what's job one? Once you've launched your app, get people to download it. When's a great time to get people to download it? Right when they walk in your
yeah,
building. So how about you put a mobile app download right there? We already know what the device operating system is. The network told us you got an iPhone. Okay? We don't know who you are yet, but we know you have an iPhone. Well, if you tell us who you are and we say, here's the link to the Apple Play Store, and you help them download it right then and there, that's worth it for the venue right there. Is I just helped you get another person to invest in this
yeah,
mobile app that you invested so much money in. And now they're part of your loyalty program or they're taking advantage of the
yeah.
things that you've got built into the app. So
Yeah, I will tell you, my vision for our podcast is that if operators listen to it, by the end of the year, they'll know about literally every technology they'll need to know about to run their business. I've learned so much about your business and the space, and I'm in marketing. I spend all my time thinking about this stuff. So I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from this conversation. So I wouldn't let the podcast end without asking you about AI because everybody's got to talk about AI
yeah,
right now.
yeah. Well,
Tell
but I
me,
want to say one quick thing before you do. For people that do listen, there's no charge from GoZone to talk about your business and the things that we can help you, maybe do, right? So we take the consultative, we're marketers too. Uh, like best practices, services part of our business as seriously as anything. If you happen to find some things that we do that you want to move forward with, we'll get into a contractual relationship. But the cost of a conversation is free. And a lot of times good things come out of it, just like this. This is why we do these kind of things. We're happy to talk about things that we've learned and things that we know work for people, whether they use our service or not. It's just good stuff, right? And the biggest challenge I think that business operators, marketing people have today is sorting through all the rubble. There's just so much, right? Like if they tried to even take on all the technology that you talk about in your broadcast, like it's almost overwhelming,
yeah,
which leads us to AI
okay,
because AI, first of all, we use AI in our daily operations. We're learning how to take advantage of the benefits that artificial intelligence allows, for us. But we're still learning as well. We have started to integrate AI into some of the things that our clients will see, right? Like natural language, a natural language bot that allows you to just ask a question like, how do I build a splash page? Right? stuff
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're getting more comfortable with, right? And
Yeah.
instead of having to pore over some search engine and, find this article about how to do this or that, you just talk, you
Right.
know, just say, ask a question, get an answer back, right? That's one absolute enabler that's in place today and is already paying huge dividends for us. But I think ultimately, from where we sit and, the things that we do, the biggest, I think, quantum leap forward that AI has the potential to allow us to offer is the ability to help our clients sift through what is increasingly an overwhelming amount of information. I mean, we talked about earlier, like, hey, I know this about Patricia and this and that. And like, just the data within the GoZone platform is overwhelming. When do they have the time to get to all this? Well, what
Yeah.
if AI could synthesize things, could summarize, could break it down, could give you meaningful, actionable things as a marketing decision maker to just do? Well, guess what? It will, and it is. So that's where I see AI helping in our world. Um, and we're excited about it. We're genuinely excited about it. It'll help us be better as well.
Now, in terms of any follow-up questions that people have, where would you ask them to come, get in touch with you,
Yeah,
email,
so we
phone?
we put an enormous amount of effort into making our website, a real resource for people. So if you go to GoZoneWiFi.com, there's a lot that you can help yourself to if you want to just kind of look around. But we're also available as people. And mine is real easy. It's Wayne at GoZoneWiFi.com. You can go sales at GoZoneWiFi.com, support at GoZoneWiFi.com. But if you've got a serious interest in learning more and just having a chat about how this stuff works, just hit me up. I'm happy to field a call or answer an email and we can kind of take it from there.
Well, awesome. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to do it. I learned a lot, and I hope, I'm sure everyone else who listens to it will learn a lot too.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.